I could just watch you all day.
Oh my God, I love you. I'm so happy to see you. I love your glasses.
Thank you.
Those are so cool. They're so Vogue.
Thank you. Someone said they were a little much, but I don't care.
No, they're super cool. They're totally Vogue. I love them. See all the hearts? I think everyone else loves them too. You guys put hearts if you like Amy's glasses. Yay. And so, Amy, look, Gizmo's going to join us.
Yay. I was hoping you would clarify that Gizmo is not for sale on the website.
Gizmo's not for sale, you guys, ever. I mean, I would stop breathing. Like, Gizmo's my heart. He is, like, don't tell the other, he's the love of my life, truly. We know. We love all the other dogs too, but Gizmo and I especially he's passing out. Gizmo took a tumble last night. I don't know if you had already jumped down. I kind of shared with everyone when I first got on that he was running up the stairs to go use the restroom, and he just didn't clear one of the steps, and he kind of palm failed into the step and then just came tumbling back, and he hurt his tooth, but he's okay right now. He's just extra needy. But
Gizmo, life is hard.
I know.
Trips sometimes too. He's 15 and a half. Maybe he'll wander by at some point. I don't know. He's probably just going to rest it all off, but he definitely goes on the stairs sometimes because he still thinks he's a puppy. So it's he just goes for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our fur babies. Okay, so you guys, here I've already been talking about her for a few minutes. Here is Amy Stanton. She is the founder and CEO of Stanton Company. She's also such a dear, dear friend. She is in my circle of angels and circle of goddesses, and I'm so grateful that she's here with us today. I'm so grateful that I get to have tea with her and hug her, and that she's in my life. She is just an extraordinary being. I mean, when we talk that our topic today is entrepreneurship, wellness, and femininity, Amy, you literally embody that in a human being. Everything that you've done, like everything you've done. And I actually would love if you could give everyone just a little bit more background and bio on how you got to this point, because you weren't always in wellness. You're always an entrepreneur. You're always about femininity. But this journey is something that I feel like, especially because it's Women's History Month, people should really dive into and know. And that's why we're talking about it today.
I love it. Well, first of all, I'm so happy to be here with you. I love you so much. This is a huge treat for me. Thank you for having me.
It's so fun.
So fun. I mean, you and I would just have this conversation anyway. We just have a bunch of people that are part of it. So I one of the things I love to tell people is that the best journeys are totally unpredictable. And I feel like that long term and in the day to day. So when I first started my career, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I started in advertising, working at big ad agencies and account management. And then I ran the marketing and PR for New York's Olympic bid, which was totally unexpected. That was the first unexpected twist, because I am from Los Angeles. So when someone said, you're the perfect person to be the head of marketing and PR for New York's Olympic bid, I said, I know nothing about sports. I know little about the Olympics, other than the fact that I'm a big fan. And I'm from Los Angeles. I'm not even sure it's a good idea to bring the Olympics to me. But my friend Jane said, you've got to talk to this guy, Dan Doctoroff, who's running the bid. And she was absolutely right. It totally changed my life. It turns out I was the perfect person for the job. She was right. She knew something I didn't. Changed the trajectory of things, because it was the first time that I was doing something that felt super purposeful, and I felt like I was making an impact as a result of my work. I think once you had that feeling, it's kind of hard to turn back.
Yeah.
So from there, by the time that was done, I was working on the bid for a few years, which felt like a few decades, because we were working literally 24/7. It takes a lot out of you. The adrenaline on an every minute basis, and just the intensity of the whole experience. And then I was like, I'm ready to retire, but I really couldn't. 33. Not really. Oh, here's Bernard. I don't know if you're going to catch a glimpse.
Oh, is he here? Hi, Bernard. We can't see him, but you have to angle down. Oh, there he is.
There's
Hi, Bernard. He's camera shy.
Yeah, he's like, anytime someone tries to photograph me, I give it a thumbs down. Still about it as Gizmo is. But needless to say, I had all these great opportunities, and one of which was to be the chief marketing officer of Martha Stewart. And again, total twist of the plot, because I was not this crazy Martha fan in a way so many people are. And I had, of course, seen her and respected her work enormously as like a true visionary and pioneer. But wasn't the person reading all the magazines, watching all the shows, baking all the recipes, and buying all the products. Plenty of people out there. So, in the end, I think it made me better at the job in certain respects, because I came on with a bit of an objective perspective comparatively. And so I was there really just for a year before starting my own business, because ultimately, as much as I loved Martha, I lived for Martha herself, I was always planning on doing my own thing. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, so I knew I was destined for entrepreneurship. I just didn't know what it would be. First business, it was focused on female athletes in women's sports, and we still represent incredible female athletes. But suddenly, like overnight, I became a sports agent. Also, Twilight Zone. Last person on earth that ever thought I'd be any sort of agent, because I grew up in LA thinking that was a bad word.
Especially in LA. It kind of has.
Now I can embrace the word agent. We're good. But regardless, I was really thrust into this world of representation and personal brand building. And I was fortunate enough to be working with literally the top female snowboarder in the world, who also happened to be a wonderful human being and wanted to make an impact in the world. And she was very family oriented and gorgeous. So she's super marketable. So we were able to do the most amazing stuff. So that was the beginning. And then after the first couple of years, really expanded the business to be focused more broadly in healthy, active living, because that more clearly mirrors my personal passion. So health and wellness is a huge piece of that. And I think so often when I'm digging in or identifying new brands or people that we want to work with, is because I'm personally obsessed with it. I just love it. And I see what a huge luxury it is to do something that you're passionate about, and to do something that feels purposeful, because I feel like by helping spread the word about the incredible people and brands we're working with, we are making the world a healthier place. So
no, you are. I mean, what you do has such an impact. It's more than being a pure company or a marketing. I mean, it's so much more than that. I feel that you really, you're just another vehicle for elevating the consciousness of the collective, of our planet. And you're empowering not just your clients, but you're empowering all the communities, because you're showing them and giving them access, and you're educating. And so, I feel that what you do it's like a ripple, and it's deeply, profoundly impactful. And I don't think that you hear that enough. And so I'm telling you that now. For all of you guys, if you don't follow Amy yet, I have her handle that's pinned to the bottom right here on the comments, just underneath our topic. So go ahead and give her a follow, because, and I'm just going to segue into for two things. First of all, Isma was in the way of the book. So he might come back. So I'll put it on this side.
Yeah, maybe he was reading the book. I don't know.
So hold on, let me see, how am I going to pop this up? Let's see if that's there. There you go. We'll just put it on this side. Isma, your seating area is now blocked, but Amy's also an author, so we'll have to talk about the book for a second. But because I was talking about Clubhouse a few minutes before you jumped on, I really would love for you to actually talk about, and I know you've probably talked about it so much. Amy is a spectacular moderator on Clubhouse. So for those of you who are on, some of you joined me last night while we were making risotto, some of you have been asking, what is it? You need to go find Amy on Clubhouse. And she's same handle, just Amy Stanton on Clubhouse. And you'll learn so much, because Amy's extending what she does here in this space into this audio space. And I would love for you to actually share about that, because you dive right in, and that is what makes you an entrepreneur, and if you could talk about that for a second. And I'd like to share about your topics and also your club.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but my handle is actually Amy K. Stanton, not Amy Stanton.
And oh my goodness.
It's okay.
Okay, let's fix that right now.
It's on this, and then same on Clubhouse, Amy K. Stanton for the listeners.
Yes. So let's go. No, I'm so glad you said that. It's correct everywhere else, but it's not correct here, because I was rapid fire.
Oh,
I'm
good
doing it.
lady.
So let me unpin it. So while you're chatting, I'm going to repin this.
Okay.
Let me
So
unpin that.
a sort of high level rundown on the Clubhouse thing. Never in life did I ever think I would spend this much time on an app. It's pretty shocking. And I know you and I have talked about this, but
Yeah.
it really sucks you right in. And there are a number of reasons for that. I mean, first of all, the last year has been really isolating, and I live alone with Bernard, so definitely not alone, but miss my constant human connection. And I'm usually traveling a ton, and I'm usually at events all the time. And so not having that has left this big void, and then Clubhouse comes along and suddenly all the serendipity is possible again, and suddenly we're able to meet people and find new things and hear the most interesting stuff that's happening in the world, and also so global. I can't believe how cool that is. Sometimes if you're in the late night rooms here, literally people from halfway around the world are popping on. And it's super inspiring that we can all connect this way, particularly at a time when I think there's a feeling of disconnect on so many levels, culturally, certainly politically, you name it. So I think it's a real tool for bringing people together meaningfully. And audio as a concept so cool because you really do learn a lot about someone listening to their voice. And you kind of have, I don't know about you, I feel like I have this very visceral response to listening to someone's voice. And oftentimes that's a great visceral response. And sometimes I'm like, I can't even listen for another second to this person's voice for whatever reason, lack of a line, I guess we would say. So I've been hosting mostly rooms around health and wellness related stuff, obviously, bringing a lot of my clients, but also my dear friends and people that I'm super inspired by together for conversations. That's what I like to do in real life. In real life, I'm hosting events and dinner parties and things that allow all these people to meet. So now I feel like I can do that again, curating cool experiences and content for people. I also have been having a lot of fun trying to create new models. So we did, as you were part of, that cool job matchmaking room. And
that was great.
So we literally, as you know, just had people explain specific positions they were trying to fill across industries. And then people in the audience would come up and either share more jobs or share something specific they're looking for. You're not going to believe this, but actually there was a higher maid as a result of that room.
Amazing.
At Comcast.
That is amazing. Who? At where?
Comcast.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So crazy. So we're definitely
cool.
I'm sure you still need to hire. I do too. So let's plan another.
Yeah, we're gonna need to hire a couple positions, I think. So I haven't even put that out here yet. I'll have to put up on stories that we are hiring. So that's fantastic.
It's a fun way to do it, And so I loved that. And then I did the following week a similar kind of process, but for nonprofits. Had 5 or 6 really incredible nonprofits share the work they're doing, and then people would get up and say, I can connect you with this person. And the highlight of it for me was when this woman who runs the prison compassion project, incredible organization, said, and she brings art to the prisons. She wants to do a production of Hamilton, and she said, I would like to connect with Lin-Manuel so that I can produce Hamilton for the prisons. And someone who was on stage with us said, I'm going to run it by him and see if he's interested. This seems like my mind was blown. I'm like, if just that happens as a result of this, huge win, but there were a lot of other magical things too. So I'm super into that stuff. And anyway, and it's really in your heart, front and center is helping people. And I love these moments where we can actually make stuff happen. So
no, it's so beautiful. And for those of you guys, I know some people have said, when is that room again? Go to Clubhouse, follow Amy. There's a little bell just like there is on Instagram, and just click that or click mine, and you'll know when we do the rooms again. It'll notify you when we do the rooms. You'll just get a little notification, really similar to Instagram, where when I do a story or a post, or if I'm on live, you get those notifications. So just make sure that you do that on Clubhouse, and you can probably do it here too, because we also promote here when we're doing those, when we're doing rooms. And no, I love that, and it is one of the it's one of the best things about Clubhouse, that I found is just the ability to, in a moment, completely organic and just synergistically and synchronistically and unplanned, like there are connections that made, and people really come together, they benefit, people are so open, it's kind of magical.
It is. And I don't know the time or date, but I will promote it. I'm going to be doing a welcome room for Martha Stewart next week.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, you have to let me know.
I will.
I will jump on. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. But there's so cool
stuff
that happen that way,
Oh my gosh. You will have for sure let me know. I would love to join and say hi to Martha, and I will share it here, and so everyone here can know as well. But that's super awesome.
Super fun. Yeah. So magic happen on Clubhouse. And if anyone wants to just get the rundown, because I know it's very overwhelming for people when they first pop on that app. I've heard time and time again. I felt that way myself.
Yeah, I do. I still kind of do, you guys.
Yeah.
To be honest.
We all feel that way at times. I just actually hosted a room on Friday where I accidentally left the room that I was moderating because I clicked on one of the alerts, and I'm like, that's such a rookie move. But it just happens. It's all happens. It's all happening. But I did a podcast with my friend Amy Jo Martin, which is What the Hell is Clubhouse. So if you Google search that, if you just want the 101 of Clubhouse, that podcast is on YouTube and it's elsewhere. So
that's so perfect. That's great. Actually, if you want, you can share the link with me, and as a follow-up to this, I can even, we can even put it on, because we do all the replays. So when we do the replay of this, we can just put it in the summary, and then someone can watch this and then link right over to that one and watch you there as well. So make sure you send me that, and then we'll just put it up in the summary. But so you guys, it's just such a great example of entrepreneurship. Going to a space that's unknown, and because you're so driven by service, right, to others, and that is your purpose, you found a way now to kind of turn this into something that actually drives business, right, towards your business, drives traffic and visibility. And so I think that is something that there's a lot of people doing that on Clubhouse, but I feel that that's something that, what makes you think that way? So many people are like, I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm really not. What makes me an entrepreneur? How do I start doing those things? I mean, it's a word that we put out there, and those of us who are really connect to that. But especially after 2020, there's so many people that are really trying to dive into that space on their own. They're trying to figure out how they can create their businesses for themselves, especially with all the different new limitations, which we have no idea how long they'll last, right? And people working from home. What are some basic fundamentals you can give to someone who's not yet an entrepreneur, and not yet thinking in that way? How can they get started if they are now, from a 9-to-5 corporate job, or from any job that they had working for someone else, something where they want to start in the space of their own?
Yes, I mean, first of all, I think we all have the capacity to be entrepreneurs, and you're so right that the pandemic has forced us all to be more entrepreneurial, because everybody has to pivot and think creatively, whether that's working in the context of a big company or not. And honestly, I feel like even people working in the context of a big company benefit from a more entrepreneurial approach.
Absolutely. 100%.
My advice to people would be really try to pay attention to what it is that excites you. I mean, on a minute-to-minute basis, what feeds your energy? What depletes your energy? I can say for myself that I am very idea driven. So I live for times when I can just be in an ideating mode, and I can just be coming up with new stuff and figuring out how to make it happen. What brings me, and is also part of being an entrepreneur, is all the admin stuff and the operational stuff and the finance stuff. They're super important, so I can't dismiss them. And I used to just have a negative belief system around those things. Now I don't, but I just look at it as a part of the job.
Right.
And understanding where your fire comes from helps a lot in terms of making sure that that's what you're spending more of your time doing. I mean, it's interesting. You must have a point of view on this too, because you started your business doing one thing which you loved, and then as the business grows, suddenly there's all these other things to think about, some of which I'm sure are not the fun things to think about.
I'm sure. Yeah.
live in it.
Mm-hmm.
But that, it is taking the good with the bad, and also just having the most resilience, like perpetual resilience. And it's so cliche to say that our failures teach us and our biggest lessons, but I really believe that. I mean, in the end, it's all the mistakes I've made, or wrong moves, or wrong relationships, or wrong everything that have made me what I am today. And I love thinking about myself as the best I've ever been. I think we all, each day, we're the best we've ever been, because we took from yesterday, we improved, and we're better today than we were then. So
absolutely,
I think it's ultimately just like sticking it out and not getting too sucked into the challenging parts. But I think if someone's going to start a business specifically, which is of course one type of being an entrepreneur, you got to make sure you really want it.
Yeah,
because otherwise, just go get a job. Really, it is nothing about being an entrepreneur is easy. I think people have this perception that you're working in a big company and then suddenly you're going to start your own and you're just going to have endless freedom. Well, guess what? I have no freedom. I mean, but like, I go on vacation, my computer is always with me, and it's okay. I see that as freedom now.
Yeah.
The freedom of that is that I can travel when I want, as long as I know I'm still going to be working. It's okay.
Yeah.
But not like there's ever a moment where my clients and my employees and everyone else aren't asking me for what the right answer is. And I signed up for that. So just your version of what freedom is may be a little off.
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, like, I think one of the fundamentals about being an entrepreneur, which is, again, in all of us, right, is just to really shift that mindset where when there are challenges, because there always will be, it's just part of the process. When there are obstacles, like you're looking for the opportunities. It just really teaches you, you really learn to be very resourceful. And I think that that's a key component to being an entrepreneur and being successful, but it's a muscle. So even if you don't know at first how to figure something out, if you're someone that's really looking to start your own business and have your own thing, that's something that you have to really keep in mind, is like you have to be really resourceful, because it's not like the way is paid for you, and you're constantly trying to figure it out, and you're constantly innovating, and as you said, pivoting and building resilience. And such a good reminder that if you think you're going to go work for yourself because it's going to be less work than working for someone else, it's quite the opposite. You're choosing how you spend your time, but you are still spending a lot of time, because this is now your baby. Our businesses become our babies. It's like a kid. It's growing like that's your baby forever. So yeah, I know, such great points, and I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think that people constantly need those reminders, especially someone who's, and even for the ones that are, like, it's good to remind people, you signed up for this, remember? Like, you signed up for this, so work that muscle, work and build that muscle that gives you resilience, right? That gives you resourcefulness. So yeah, I love those points. Can we talk about your book for a little bit?
Yeah,
okay. So you guys, this is Amy's book. She's going to tell you all about it in just a second. But you can find this book if you go to her account, which now I have put the correct handle. That was totally my mistake. But it's pinned, and just tap it when we're done. Actually, I don't know if you can tap it now. It might take you out of it. So do it when we're done. And then go follow her, and you'll be able to pick up this book, which she's going to tell you about in a second. And it's amazing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Well, yes. I mean, we always say research is me search, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the things we do are truly taking on things so that we can solve our own questions, resolve questions, solve our own.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what this book was about for me, because I had been doing a lot of work launching books for incredible authors. And I was surrounded by people thinking about books, talking about books, launching books. And then I had developed this close relationship with an agent named Colleen O'Shea.
Mm-hmm.
You met Colleen, and
I've chatted with her. She's so sweet.
The loveliest. And Colleen, I always told Colleen if I ever wrote a book, I would, of course, want to do it with her. And one day I was struck by lightning, and I felt like I had to write this book about femininity. It was very strange because at the time, thank you. Yes, Feminine Revolution book is the handle for, thank you. Yes, awesome. I felt like there were all these important conversations going on around feminism and female empowerment and women's rights and equal pay, you name it. But nobody was talking about this other F word of femininity.
Yeah.
So I wondered why. And the reason I was thinking about it is because I had grown up in these big ad agencies in New York, career-wise, that is, and I had developed what I perceived to be a bit of an armor because I felt like I had to be tough in order to thrive in this big New York world. And I couldn't show my emotions. I couldn't show what a sensitive being I am. Crying, clearly not super welcome in the workplace.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
And so I felt like at the end of the day, I was really I was representing myself in a way that I felt I needed to thrive in a man's world. But the reality is, I wasn't showing up as my full and authentic self. And that only became clear because I started wondering if I was bringing this tougher, bossy Amy into my dating relationships. And that is why I've not met Prince Charming.
Yeah.
So it was a question mark, really. So I started talking to lots of women and also men about this concept of femininity and how they were showing up in the world and whether they felt like they could really embrace these parts of themselves. And what's interesting is there were these conversations about the importance of men showing their vulnerability, but nobody was talking about the importance of women showing their vulnerability because there was a presumption that we were already doing that.
Right.
So through the conversation, it became clear several things. One, everybody's definition of femininity is unique, and that's a good thing. So the things that I would describe as the feminine qualities that I align with most, sensitivity, emotionality, crying openly, being intuitive, those may be totally different for someone else. And and that's a great thing. And also we're each a balance of masculinity and femininity. Yes. And that's also a great thing because my assertiveness and my directness and whatever these more masculine qualities are, that's part of why I'm so good at my work as well. So, and in life, we need we need balance. So after the research phase, I was fortunate enough to have met this woman, Catherine Connors, and she was an academic in women's studies and was running the princess rebranding project at Disney. So she had a really cool perspective on things too. A really different type of brain. So we came together to write the book because I had been talking about it at this point for like 3 years. And finally I'm like, Catherine, maybe we should just do this together. Because I need an accountability partner, by the way. So I think it did ultimately really help on a number of levels. And so we just went for it. And it's an interesting experience writing a book because you have to write a proposal first, or ideally you do, unless you just write the book. But the proposal's 50 pages. That's you feel
that's one of my future projects, you guys.
Exactly. It's you feel like you've written a book by the time you've written the proposal, and it hasn't sold to the publisher yet. But needless to say, there was so much potential there. And the book is basically breaks down 21 different qualities that have historically been perceived as feminine, shows why they've been perceived as feminine, and then turns that on its head, and why they've been perceived as weaknesses. And turns that on its head to show that our feminine qualities are actually our superpowers. Yes. So whether it's our sensitivity, which I could talk about ad nauseum, or even crying openly, these are things that, again, have been perceived by society as weaknesses. And so maybe we've held them back or we haven't brought them forward professionally, personally, you name it. But then when you look more closely, you see that these are not only what make us us, but that if we lean into them, we're actually our most powerful, because ultimately being authentic is the road to happiness. Yes, it is. And we hear that so often. And I love how you broke it down. And I actually feel that this book is a necessary book for all women.
And especially if you are a female entrepreneur, it's an essential, because you need the reminders. But I feel that this book it's important for men as well, because it gives you an insight that they're just, and this is of no offense to any of my male viewers out there, but like, it's just a perspective that you may not come to on your own. And it just, hi Giz, he's like pawing at me, and it's just, you need someone to give you that guidance a little bit, just to give you that open perspective, so you don't have to figure it out on your own. And that's why, and there's so much value to that. And even for myself, I love how you said that what you identify with, that's a feminine, I guess, feminine future for you, it might be different for someone else, and I think that's also really important to remind people of. And for myself, people may think I'm very feminine, but I have done the same, and it's a constant reminder to not lean too far away from my femininity, because it's not just about having long hair, it's just like how I really have to bring my masculine outward constantly to run my businesses and to have a team. And I started my career as a chef, and that is very much a male dominated world historically, even though we have more female chefs now than ever before. And we've got people like Martha Stewart, who is a visionary, and even though she maybe wasn't a classically trained chef, she's still viewed in that space. It's still kind of a man's world, in the kitchen. And so there's certain things that, as you say, you are kind of quelling that authentic piece of yourself, because you feel like you have to show up a certain way. And your book is just a great reminder, that you still have to connect with that feminine self, that's really your superpower. Don't hide it, don't dim it down, don't make it quiet. And just to remind everybody, and the men, that what to see, when you're seeing that type of behavior, and that action. So I think it's something that should be on everybody's bookshelf. It's like a relationship book, and you don't even realize it.
Thank you. You're so right. I mean, first of all, I love that you said that about encouraging men to read it. I think it's important because men are holding back parts of themselves too. So it's not
absolutely,
like, it does give visibility into human dynamics in general. Mm-hmm. And so some of the men I know who have read it have actually felt like they approach their work, they're running the companies they're running differently, mm-hmm. because mm-hmm. they're more sensitive to this.
Yeah.
Great thing. But then also, certain men that have read it are like, Amy, why don't you write the same book for men? And again, maybe it's just not my number one priority at the moment, but I do think there's something there. I mean, the reality is the win is for men and women to be able to show up fully and to be able to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good for me just to give a couple of examples of specific qualities. Would that
be
cool?
Yeah, I would love that. Actually, I was just about to ask you to do that.
So okay, fabulous. Okay, so again, I've mentioned the word sensitivity countless times. There's a reason for that, because I grew up being told I was too sensitive by my mom and others. Guess what? It wasn't in a flattering way. And I think it's interesting when you start thinking about that. So many moms have said to me, I really started paying closer attention to the language I'm using around my daughter, and for that matter, because I've been saying, oh, you're just being sensitive in a dismissive way that basically is a negative.
For sure.
Feedback.
Being sensitive is bad,
Right?
Yeah.
Young age, we get that feedback, right? So through this, it's abundantly clear that actually my sensitivity is what makes me so great at what I do. I mean, again, I lived through countless conversations in my early days in New York where people would say, stop, you can't be so sensitive, or don't take things personally. I get it in a performance review, what can you do? But then now I'm like, hey, everyone, guess what? The fact that I'm as sensitive as I am is why I can walk into the office and sense that something's up with one of my employees, and I can go address it. Or I can sit in a client meeting and I can hear words, but I can sense what is really going on. And I can then fix a problem or get ahead of something because of that. So in the end, I look at how that plays out on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis, and it's such a win. It's such it ultimately is the reason that I can run my company and have such deep relationships with people, and people feel heard and understood, is because of my sensitivity. Another example, which people are always astounded by. Are you a crier? I've never seen you cry. Oh, yes, I have. heard
like,
you.
Maybe like one time. Yeah. Like, I mean, and you know what, I don't cry enough, you know, I really, that's something that I've trained myself. I've trained myself not to cry.
Wow.
And so I really, because I had to be tough. You know, when my dad passed away, it was like, I didn't cry when I gave his eulogy. I practiced and I was like, I can't have to be strong. I'm not going to cry. I'll cry after. Like, I got to get through this. And this is the moment to show strength, you know, to the family and to everyone. But that's kind of a story, or just like what we're trained to think.
100%.
Because crying meant I would be weak, you know, instead of just being me and how I felt. But and so for many years, for a long time, and that's still something I'm working away at. I think I said to somebody, my sister, when I came back, and I'll share with you my weekend when we go offline. Yeah. But I said, I feel like I just need to come home and just like have a good cry, you know. And it doesn't mean it's bad. Sometimes you're crying because you're just processing feelings.
It's so true. But, it's so true. And I mean, that it's really interesting. It's exactly what you said. It's like we all perceive crying to be a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
So the issue, as I would explain it, is that it's not about the crying itself. It's about how we all respond to the crying. So let's start at the beginning. Like, in the history of time, did anyone ever wake up in the morning and say, I hope that today I burst into tears in my boss?
Right. No.
Unlikely, right? So what happened? They had a human moment. I should say we had, because I've had many moments. And being human is A-okay, guys. Guess what? It's all right. We're all human.
Yeah.
So that is a message I think that we all should be singing from the hilltops, because that being human is okay. But in a crying situation, what happens is the crier is horrified and runs to the bathroom, or says, I'm sorry, I'm getting so emotional and embarrassed, and there's no discussion. And the person being cried to is also super uncomfortable, because oftentimes they feel like either they did something wrong, or the person's upset with them, or maybe
they have to fix it. You know?
They don't even know. They don't really understand what the problem is more times than not. So they're sort of stuck, and there's just paralysis on both sides. And you know, oftentimes if an employer hears their employee crying, they're like, oh, is this a disgruntled employee? Right? Just leave totally the wrong impression. So what if, let's just say it's a performance review, someone cries, because of course we all get negative feedback in performance reviews. It can't be 100% positive, otherwise we would never grow.
Right.
A part of a performance review is always excruciating. In fact, I'm sure I cried in every possible performance review, because I want the negative feedback, but like the anticipation and the stress, whatever. So I'll give you a specific story. Well, first I'll finish the concept. So basically, in an ideal world, someone starts crying and goes, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional right now. It's because I care so much about this job. Or I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional right now. I was hoping to get a raise today, and please tell me what I can do to get this raise. Or the boss or the person being cried to could say, tell me why you're getting emotional right now. It's totally fine. I don't want you to think twice about that, but how can I help? And then suddenly these two people, through the tears, can actually have a conversation and move things forward and be more connected than ever, and actually build their relationship and solve whatever the challenge is. So, I mean, truly, I urge everyone to try that, because it's really powerful. It's such a simple skill set to just be able to like actually just roll with it instead of crawling under the table, which again, I haven't done at all. But I had this one, when I worked in New York, I had at one point worked for this ad agency, and the president would take us out for our performance reviews for our staff. So she would always take us out. He's back. He's back. Lurking. You're just gonna lurk? Okay, great. So she would take us individually out for these performance reviews, and they were always super fun. We'd go to some fancy restaurant in New York, and champagne would be involved, which without question was part of the problem on this particular day. So the champagne, you know, champagne and tears can go hand in hand. I'm just saying for the record. So we sit down, we have our lunch, we go through the performance review. It's mostly super positive. I'm sure there was some stuff to work on, but that didn't even cause a problem. So I was not happy with the raise because I was just had, for whatever reason, an expectation that I was either going to get a promotion or a raise. I can't even remember the details, but I started crying. And she definitely thought, oh no, Amy's going to be disgruntled from this point on because she didn't get what she wanted, but we never worked through it. And it truly impacted our relationship, in a negative way permanently.
Yeah.
And we never really recovered from it. I think back to that. I'm like, I wish I had the tools at that time to just say, there's certain people that have a very hard time with the tears, and it's not, you can't do anything about how someone's going to receive you, but at least if you're able to try to communicate a little bit of what's really going on, so the guesswork takes the guesswork out of it for the other person, could be helpful.
Yeah, no, and I think that, as we're coming, I just realized we're coming down to the hour because I jumped on it early, but, these are just such good reminders, like to really embrace that part of you, and that to know that your femininity, whether you're male or female, it's actually a superpower. When you have that perspective about it, there's so much growth that can come from it, and you can actually see how it can benefit you in that situation. Like the one that you just said, and clearly maybe she didn't have that perspective. She didn't look to think this person is honoring their feelings right now, so how can I support them, and how can we make this a learning or a growth opportunity, which is how we should really look at those situations. And it's hard when you're in the moment, of course, but being able to do that, and I think embracing that femininity, that the feminine side of each one of us, that's also what makes you such a great leader, and such a great entrepreneur, because again, it's really having that multifaceted perspective. It's being able to look at something from 100 yards away instead of just 10 inches or 10 feet away, and having that 360 perspective. And these are all things that make you so profoundly good at what you do, not just as a human, not just as someone who's modding a room on Clubhouse and just trying to create space to help other people, connect and impact each other, but also what you do with your company, and how you're helping people impact and connect on a much, in another platform, in another way. So just thank you, thank you for what you do. Thank you for writing this book. Thank you for jumping on here today with us, and sharing so much wisdom. I appreciate it so much. It's really been, I'm so glad. I love you so much.
Love you so much.
So you guys, before, make sure you check out Amy's account right here, Amy K. Stanton. That's what it is here on Instagram. It's what it is on Clubhouse. Is that mostly the two main platforms you use? Facebook? Yes, no?
A little on Facebook and a little on Twitter. Amy K. Stanton everywhere. So
Amy K. Stanton everywhere. And really, I really encourage you to check out this book. I really loved it, and I think it can be really helpful. Male, female, you might want to gift one to the females in your life. I think that could be really helpful too.
It's a great idea. Sometimes, like if someone's struggling with their boss, they get them a copy of that. Because there's a lot of good stuff in there that's practical.
Yeah.
Helping people figure out how to interact differently or understand each other,
Yeah.
The most important thing in the end is that we just give everyone and each other space to be ourselves and themselves.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I forgot about this because I haven't done live, I think, in a week, and my memory after 2 days. But we do giveaways sometimes. Like, we want to do one. Like, if someone screenshots us and then posts it, tags us, or if you're a private account, at least DM, and maybe we can give away a book to someone. Someone just said perfect gift. So let's do that, yeah?
Let's do it. 100%.
Okay, amazing. So you guys, we're going to do another incredible book giveaway. If you're still on and you've been listening, tag us. And what should we do? Because sometimes it's almost too easy to just take a screenshot and tag. Like, what do they have to tell us?
I think they should share one specific, their favorite feminine quality. How about that?
Okay, so you got to take a screenshot, post it, and again, if you're private, it's okay. At least send me a message and DM, and then your top feminine quality, and then we'll pick a winner. I'll pick a winner, and I'll give the info to Amy, and she's gonna send someone a book as a gift.
Yes, I would love that.
Yay! Okay, yay! Well, I love it. Thank you so much. And then, oh, hi, Emily. Oh, you guys, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining. And as always, we will have the replays up and ready in a few days. Go ahead and check my Instagram account because I'll post it on stories. Or if you follow me on Facebook, join our Facebook and subscribe on YouTube because that's where it goes up first. And then you'll see it all over again.
Love it.
All right. Yay. Okay. Thank you so much, honey. Thank you. And I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys in a couple days. So if you looked on the calendar, Sarah Ann, we're going to reschedule, but we will be with Dr. Will Cole in, I think, 2 or 3 days. So I'll see you guys then. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.